Johnny Depp just exposed the real reason he fractured his ankle, and it hits different than anything the headlines prepared you for. In his own words shared straight from his social media update on July 14, 2026, he revealed it started as a simple hairline break that quietly got worse somewhere between the Cannes Film Festival and his performance at the Royal Albert Hall. No dramatic accident, no wild story, just the quiet truth of an injury that refused to stay small while he kept showing up. Doctors stepped in hard, telling him rest was non-negotiable and travel was off the table. The Hollywood Vampires tour dates had to shift. This is not the polished version. This is the real moment he finally put it out there. The moment Johnny Depp put those words out there, on July 14, 2026, something shifted. It was not a press release filtered through layers of managers. It was him speaking directly. "My dear friends, I am sorry to say that I have fractured my ankle, which is a drag. It began as a hairline break, but somewhere between Cannes and the Royal Albert Hall, it got worse rather than better. Several medical professionals have strongly suggested I avoid any and all activity for the moment, and so am sadly unable to travel at this time." That is the full picture he gave. No spin, no mystery illness. Just the plain fact that a small crack turned into something that stopped him cold. Think about what a hairline break really is. It is the kind of injury that can hide for days. You feel a twinge. You tell yourself it is nothing. You keep walking. You keep standing on stage. You keep smiling for the cameras at Cannes, because that is what the work demands. Then the travel starts. The long flights, the late nights, the weight of the guitar, the hours on your feet under hot lights at the Royal Albert Hall, and slowly the crack becomes a fracture that will not be ignored. That is the real reason. Not some dramatic fall, not a fight, not a dark secret from the past, just the quiet way the body finally says enough when you have been asking too much of it for too long. He did not have to say any of this. He could have let the band post a vague update. He could have disappeared for a few weeks and come back with a polished story. Instead, he chose the honest version. He called it a drag. He owned the timeline. He named the places. Cannes to the Royal Albert Hall. That stretch of days where the injury decided it was done being polite. That is what makes this moment land so heavy, because it shows how even someone who has spent decades creating characters that seem larger than life still lives inside a body that breaks like anyone else's. The Hollywood Vampires had dates locked in. New Hampshire, Boston, New York. Fans had bought tickets. Some had planned whole trips around those 3 nights. And then the message lands. The shows are moving to late July. July 28 in Boston. July 29 in Manchester, New Hampshire. July 30 in Bethel, New York at the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts. He promised they would bring an amazing show. He promised to make it up to everyone who had already paid. That promise sits right next to the apology. Both are real. Both matter. There is a darkness in this that has nothing to do with scandal. It is the darkness of realizing that the thing you love doing can slowly take pieces of you if you are not careful. Performing is not just standing under lights and playing notes. It is the travel, the pressure to deliver every single night, the knowledge that people have spent money and time and emotion to be there. When your ankle starts whispering that it is not okay, you do not always listen right away. You push, you ice it, you tell yourself you will rest after the next city. And then one morning the whisper becomes a shout and the doctors are looking at scans and using words like strict rest and no activity and no flying. Johnny Depp has always moved through the world with a certain restlessness. He creates, he plays, he shows up. That restlessness is part of why so many people connect with him. But restlessness does not protect bone. It does not stop a hairline crack from spreading when the body is already tired. The darkness is in that gap. The gap between who you feel you need to be for the people waiting and what your body will actually allow. He stood in that gap and told the truth about it. Look at the sequence. He was at Cannes, the festival energy, the red carpet, the long days of conversations and photos, and the weight of being seen. Then the move to England, the Royal Albert Hall, a room that has held legends, a stage that demands everything. Somewhere in that stretch, the ankle stopped cooperating. He did not announce it while it was still just a hairline. He waited until the medical professionals made it clear that continuing would make it worse. That choice says something quiet and important. He listened when it mattered. Fans felt the weight of the news right away. Some were disappointed about the original dates. Some were worried. Some just sat with the simple fact that the man they admire is human and hurt. The message did not ask for pity. It did not ask for praise. It simply laid out the situation and the plan forward. That kind of clarity is rare. Most people in his position would have let someone else write the statement. He wrote it like he was talking to friends. My dear friends. That opening lands soft and real. The doctors were not vague. Several medical professionals strongly suggested, avoid any and all activity. Those words are heavy. They mean the difference between healing clean and creating a bigger problem that could linger. An ankle fracture is not a small thing when your work involves standing for hours and moving across a stage. The foot carries everything. When it is compromised, the whole chain feels it. The knee, the hip, the back, the focus. So the order was rest, real rest. Not the kind where you still try to sneak in a little work, the kind where you stay put. He could have kept the reason private. Plenty of artists do. They cancel and say personal reasons or scheduling conflicts. Instead, he named the injury. He named the progression. Hairline to worse. He named the places. That level of detail is the exposure the title talks about. The real reason was not hidden behind drama. It was the simple accumulation of stress on a small break that never got the chance to knit back together. That is darker than any invented story because it is so ordinary. It could happen to anyone who keeps going when their body is asking them to stop. The rescheduled dates are already on the calendar. Late July. The East Coast will still get the shows. Europe is still ahead. He said, fear not. He said they will bring their absolute best. Those words matter because they come after the apology. He did not just cancel and walk away. He rearranged. He made a plan. He kept the promise alive. That is the other side of the honesty. The injury is real. The commitment is also real. Think about what those weeks of rest will look like. No stages, no flights, no late nights under lights. Just a slow work of letting bone do what bone knows how to do when you finally stop interfering. Healing is not glamorous. It is quiet. It is repetitive. It is the opposite of the life he has lived for so long. And yet that quiet is what will let him stand on stage again without the ankle reminding him of every step. There is a moment in every long career where the body starts keeping a different kind of score. The early years you bounce back from almost anything. The later years the same injury asks for more time, more care, more honesty. This ankle is one of those moments. He did not pretend otherwise. He did not turn it into a story about toughness or pushing through. He said it is a drag and he is following the medical advice. That is the kind of real that connects. Because every person who has ever ignored a pain until it became a problem recognizes the pattern. The Hollywood vampires are 4 people who know how to fill a room with sound and energy. Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, Tommy Henriksen, and Johnny Depp. When one of them has to step back, the whole thing shifts. They did not try to replace him or push forward without him. They moved the dates. They stayed together. That choice reflects the same honesty he showed in the message. The band is not bigger than the people in it. When one needs rest, the others wait. Fans who had tickets for the original nights now have new nights. Some will be able to make the new dates. Some will not. That is another layer of the real cost. The injury does not just affect the person who has it. It ripples. The person who took time off work. The person who arranged childcare. The person who was counting the days. He acknowledged them directly. We are very sorry to miss you. We will make it up. That acknowledgement is part of why the message feels complete. He did not leave the disappointment hanging. He named it and answered it. The darkness the title points to is not some hidden scandal. It is the quiet truth that even the people who seem to live outside ordinary rules still live inside ordinary bodies. A hairline break does not care about film festivals or legendary halls or decades of work. It only cares about load and rest and time. When those 3 things get out of balance, the break grows. Johnny Depp lived that imbalance between Cannes and the Royal Albert Hall, and then he told the truth about it. He has spent a lifetime giving audiences characters who feel larger than the frame. This time he gave them something smaller and more honest. A man with a fractured ankle who is sitting still because the doctors told him to. A man who is disappointed and still planning the next shows. A man who called his fans dear friends and meant it enough to explain exactly what happened. That is the exposure. That is the real reason, and that is why it sits heavy. The weeks ahead will be about healing. The scans will be checked. The weight bearing will be limited. The simple acts of walking and standing will be measured carefully. None of that will make headlines. None of that will look like the life people imagine when they think of him. But that quiet work is what will let him walk back onto a stage in late July and play without the ankle screaming. That is the part of the story that does not get told enough. The unglamorous middle. The part where the only thing that matters is listening to the body and giving it what it needs. He could have kept performing. Plenty of people would have. The pressure to not disappoint is real. The knowledge that tickets are sold and expectations are set is real. But he chose the longer view. Rest now so the later shows can be the ones he promised. Absolute best. That phrase is not throwaway. It is the standard he is holding himself to even while hurt. The injury does not lower the bar. It just moves the timeline. There is something deeply human in watching someone who has been mythologized for so long simply say my ankle is broken and I have to stop. The myth does not disappear. The work does not disappear. But for a stretch of days, the myth has to sit down and let the bone knit. That contrast is where the emotional weight lives. The man who has played pirates and outlaws and mad dreamers is now playing the role of patient, and he is doing it without performance. Just the plain words and the clear plan. The message ended with all my love and respect. Jade. X. That closing is soft. It matches the opening. Dear friends. Love and respect. No grand claims. No requests for anything in return. Just a simple offering of truth and the promise to return stronger for the stages still waiting. That is the full circle of what he exposed. Not a dark plot. Not a hidden wound from somewhere else. Just the ordinary darkness of a body that reached its limit and a man who chose to honor that limit out loud. The East Coast dates will come. The Europe dates will come. The ankle will heal on its own schedule, and when he steps back into the light, it will be with the knowledge that he told the truth when it would have been easier to stay quiet. That choice is what makes this moment linger. Not the fracture itself, the decision to name it fully. Hairline that got worse, canned to Royal Albert Hall, doctors who said stop, fans who deserve the real story, and a promise that the shows will still happen and they will still matter. This is the real reason. This is the darkness, not the kind that needs inventing, the kind that was already there in the gap between the life he leads and the body that has to carry it. He stepped into that gap on July 14 and spoke from it, and that is why the words still sit with people days later. Because they recognize the shape of it, the small injury that becomes large, the work that keeps calling even when the body is asking for silence. The choice to finally listen and then tell the people waiting exactly why the silence has to happen. The Hollywood vampires will play those rescheduled nights. The rooms will fill, the sound will rise, and somewhere in the middle of it all there will be the quiet knowledge that the man on stage took the time he needed so that this night could be the one he wanted to give. That is the other side of the exposure. The injury was real, the rest is real, and the return will be real too. Not because of some dramatic comeback arc, because he did the simple hard thing. He stopped when stopping was the only honest option left. In the end, the story is not complicated. A hairline break, a stretch of high demand days, a fracture that would not stay small, medical advice that was clear, a public message that matched the advice, postponed dates that still honor the tickets, and a man who called his audience friends and meant the word enough to give them the unfiltered version. That is everything he exposed. That is the darkness and the light of it at the same time. The darkness of the limit, the light of the honesty that followed. And both of them belong to the same ordinary human truth. Even the people who seem to live outside the rules still have to live inside the body they were given. And sometimes that body gets the final say. If this real look at what Johnny Depp shared landed with you the way it did with so many of us, drop a comment and tell me what part hit hardest. Was it the honesty in his own words, or the quiet weight of having to stop when the body finally says no? Hit that like button so more people who care about him see the full story instead of the noise. Subscribe if you want more moments like this, told straight, no filter, no fake drama, just the truth as it stands. Share this with someone who still believes the real ones always show up even when it costs them. The ankle will heal, the stages are waiting, and we will be right here when he walks back on. All love.